This is the Ask Faleskini podcast, where the modern economy is discussed from a skeptic's perspective. Mr. Faleskini helps you distinguish what is sustainable in our economy and what isn't. Not everything that glitters is gold, and not all mud is dirty. The podcaster Mr. Faleskini provides no-nonsense advice. He had it all, lost it all, went bankrupt multiple times, and is now attempting to come back from zero with sustainable growth. There are numerous coaches and preachers on the internet that preach about positive thinking and how life is all roses if you just care to see it that way. Well, Mr. Faleskini is definitely not one of them. We recommend you ask Faleskini to keep it real. He discusses the darker side of the current economic reality, the side that's more important for your personal and business finance. His first intention is to help you keep what you already have. Not to be a complete party pooper, Mr. Faleskini will also hint at the earning opportunities in the economy today. In order to please the almighty algorithm, please like, share, and subscribe. And now it's time to start taking notes. The mic goes to the podcaster, the one and only Mr. Faleskini.
Welcome to the Ask Faleskini podcast with a guest. I'm proud to present Cierra Lueck. Cierra is an expert in Facebook audience building. Cierra, please tell us more about yourself. What is your story?
Sure. I was a stay-at-home mom for 15 years, I think. Don't ask me to quote numbers. I've been married for almost 20 years, so I'll let anyone else do the math on how old I am. I have 5 kids at this point, and it was around the time that my son had a brain tumor. We found out he was really sick, that I was sitting there watching him go through all of this stuff. And I knew that he had gotten to this really severe point of where he didn't really want to live anymore. He had kind of lost his will to live because he was in so much pain. He lost all of his friends. He lost his ability to do anything because he actually got 2nd and 3rd degree burns on his hands. And he had to go in for surgery so often to the hospital that I just kind of saw it as like, I couldn't let my son die. I couldn't let my son have these kind of emotional feelings that would lead to him taking his own life, because there were a few times that he was on medication that brought him to that point of depression. And so for me, I turned it around, and I recognized that I couldn't just tell him. I was coming out and kind of being that motivational speaker for him and my other kids every day. And I couldn't just tell him to do better or be better or to, hey, life is going to get better, and yet not show him firsthand. And so that was one of those pivotal points for me, where instead of being a stay-at-home mom who was just helping out friends with businesses and stuff like that for free on the side and whatever, I wasn't making money from it. I saw that I had to pursue something of my own and show my kids firsthand that there was something worth living for on the flip side. And so I started my business about 4.5 years ago. And during that time, what was actually the pivotal point for me was getting a really great mentor. And once I had a mentor, in my first 6 months, I did over $100,000 collected into my own business. And then the next year I made multi-6 figures, and it's just kind of been a ride ever since. It's been fun. And I've worked with a lot of really high level people in the industry and stuff like that. And so the thing though, for me with social media is I was already doing social media stuff for a really long time before Facebook was really the big thing. I remember, we had MySpace, and we had, there was a website called Cafe Mom that I was on, and I was admin over several groups on Cafe Mom. It was kind of Reddit style forums for groups. And whenever Facebook came out with Facebook groups, I remember being really excited about it, but then we got on there and they were kind of really cruddy in the beginning. Just usability was low. It wasn't really great. I wasn't really monetizing anything with Facebook in the beginning. And I'd already monetized on Cafe Mom. We'd monetized several of the groups there. So we were making money and getting sponsorships and different things like that from our groups on Cafe Mom. And so the transition to Facebook was really rocky in the beginning. But then when my son was when I was pregnant with my son was when we were on Cafe Mom. And then we made this transition, I think when my son was about 3 or 4, to Facebook groups. And a couple of friends of mine, we did fitness groups online. And with those fitness groups, we were doing just 60-day boot camps. And it was a lot of fun. And it was really, really easy to do. So about 4.5 years ago, my mentor asked me, well, if you've already grown groups before and you've monetized groups before, why not just do that? And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And so I built an entire offer around it. That's what took me to my first, 6 figures within 6 months. And that's what I've been doing ever since. It's like, even my clients now, I do done for you social media management for them. We primarily do strategy, and the majority of sales come from their Facebook groups. And so everything that I've done has been geared around Facebook groups, because building a group and building a community is just so strong.
Okay,
that's a long-winded answer.
That is impressive. And I would like to ask you, there is so much people offering social media services these days, but the right ones are so hard to find. Is there an educated guess or even advice how like business people or small business owners should go about finding the right person to help them with their social media? How much should they do on their own, and how much can they outsource?
So in the beginning, like, one of my favorite phrases to say is that you don't have to be a copywriter to write great copy.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people want to start taking copywriting courses and stuff like that. They want to become really good at copywriting. And if that is your passion and that is what you want to do with the rest of your life, 100% take all of the courses, go through all of the trainings, get all of the mentors. However, if your main focus is some other kind of offer inside of your business that's not copywriting, and you're not going to be doing that for clients or getting paid for it, that should not be your main focus in business. And so I always recommend, when businesses are starting out in the beginning phases, whether that's with a low ticket offer or high ticket offer, I always recommend a high ticket offer first, because it just gives you that cash flow right out the gate. Like, you get one client with a high ticket offer, and all of a sudden you have money that you can spend on other operating expenses in the business. So I love working with people on building out and getting their high ticket offers sold so that they get that cash flow. However, for those people who are just starting out, whether it's high ticket or low ticket, I wouldn't recommend handing off social media to anybody. It's really not that difficult to do. I have a training program that I take my clients through. If they're just starting out, it's lower ticket, but the idea is like so simple. Like, content, you shouldn't even have to really think about content. All you're trying to do is kick up conversations with your target market or with people for sales. So just kicking up the sales conversations. So you don't really need a group in the beginning, and you definitely don't need a team member to do your social media for you. The only reason why people who are just starting out think that they need a team member to do social media is because they're instantly trying to be like Alex Hormozy, or, one of these other really high level, like Gary Vee, or some of these other higher level businesses that have been around for years and have a huge team. So they're trying to be them out the gate, but being that out the gate isn't even going to attract the right people to you. It's like, you need the people who are actually not being served by them. Those are the people who need your help the most and who are ready to buy right now. So it's like, you don't actually want to attract what they're attracting. So that being said, for anyone who does want to get help, I would say you need to be at least 10K to 30K months already. And once you're at 10K to 30K months already, then you have the cash flow to afford it consistently moving forward. And then you can make really good buying decisions. So you can hire the right people rather than just hiring really fast. Some of the best advice I've gotten in hiring is hire slow and fire fast. And so a lot of people want to just get a VA to do their content for them. I guarantee you, I have not met a single VA who does really fantastic social media content ever. I know none. And I know hundreds of VAs. None of them can do great content for social media. It's okay, but it's not great. And then, and if you're going to pay for somebody who's like local to the US or a native English speaker, you're looking to pay a lot more for their stuff, but not even all of the native English speakers are very skilled with social media content. And most copywriters out there, they're skilled in like emails or website copy or landing pages for ads and funnels, but they're not skilled in social media content. Very few people are actually really skilled in social media content, and social media content doesn't have to be difficult. You could do it without somebody else doing it. And so I actually have a lot of my clients send their team members through my program, my lower ticket program, because because their team members get to learn how to do the easy content. And it's like social media shouldn't have to be difficult. You should be able to do it easily. All we're trying to do is just kick up conversations with people and build trust. So it's like, if we're just trying to kick up conversations and build trust, it's not hard. It's more a skill of like how you're communicating online. And most people can't bridge the gap between what it's like to communicate online versus communicating in person.
Okay, I have another question that is intriguing me a lot. You mentioned low ticket and high ticket, and I see so many videos about low and high ticket products. Can we put the distinction in a dollar amount between low ticket and high ticket? Where does low ticket ends and where does high ticket start?
It's going to depend on the industry and niche, because like if we're in real estate, we're looking at higher ticket being multi-millions, and we're looking at lower ticket being, 100,000 or 200,000. Like those are low ticket properties in the US. So this is based on US dollars in the US market. When it comes to other kind of like service-based offers or agency offers or even fitness offers, we're looking at, I would say, low ticket. So I actually view low ticket as anything that's like sub 3,500, like 3,500 and lower for me, or anything under 4,000 really is like lower ticket in the high ticket space. So anything under 4,000 is low ticket in the high ticket space. Anything over that, but it also depends on like the length of the term of the contract, because you'll see people you'll have two offers that are 10K, and 10K was like, everyone was teaching everyone to build out a 10K offer, right? For a while. You'll also see this whole wave of people who were building out 5K offers, because there were 2 or 3 different gurus who had like thousands of students who were all building out their 5K high ticket offers. And then I think there's also some that were building out like their $3,000 offer. So there was this whole wave of people who were building out $3,000, $5,000, and $10,000 offers. And then there's people who have more, like my done for you social media management right now. It's up there. So if you're signing a year contract with me, you're looking to pay upwards around 50,000 or more with me per year. So like that like contracts will range. And so it's like, if you have 2 10K offers, one could be a 12-month and one could be a 3-month. So if it's a 3-month offer for 10K, you got to factor it out. That's like 40,000 a year. Right. And if it's a 1-year offer for 10K, that's less than 1,000 a month. So that's really not that much. I could see a fitness offer easily going for 10,000 for a year, but you wouldn't sell it like that. You wouldn't say, yeah, it's just $10,000. And then they're like, oh my God, that's so much money, because it's really not. It's like, if you thought about it, you think about like, what is your rent for your property, right? Whatever property you're staying in, if you're paying rent or mortgage, you think about it, factor out how much you're spending per year. Like go multiply that times 12, pick up your calculator, go do it right now. Like if you're listening to this or watching this, go do it right now. Just factor out how much are you paying per year, because most of us don't look at the yearly cost of those monthly expenses, which is why whenever you sell your high ticket offer, if you sell it in terms of monthly expenses, it's actually easier to sell, because that's how most of us think anyway. I'm always planning to pay my phone bill every month. I'm always planning to pay my water bill every month. I'm always planning to pay my electricity every month. I'm always planning to pay my rent or my mortgage every month. It's budgeted. It's like, can I manage this in my budget? And that's how people think. A lot of the way that people think about their personal budget is often the way that they think about their business budget. And so as long as it's within the budget of what they can afford, it's a yes. And usually the reason why people say no is because it's just not within the budget. Did that answer that question? So
Yes,
for me, when I say lower ticket and I'm saying like people are selling lower ticket offers right out the gate, we're thinking anything sub $1,000 is what most people view as low ticket. So like there are still some people who think that like $997 is high ticket. And I'm like, no, like, no, there's just so many other offers out there that are way higher than that. That is really, really low. If you can find a solid offer that gets you really wicked good results for less than $1,000, like you found a gold mine, because they don't exist.
Okay, I have 2 more questions. When we're talking about Facebook's or other social media, we always think about followers, and we see these influencers with 100,000 and million and 10 million followers. For how many followers should we have in order to be cash flow positive? Is there for a service industry? I'm asking. For example, you talked about the fitness industry. How many followers should a fitness coach have in order to be cash flow positive and be able to sell?
So I'm not going to tell you answers that other people would. You might go to guys like the clients and communities guys who also work with groups, and they might tell you that you have to have certain number of people on your ads or certain number of people in your group or whatever. I don't know. I don't know what other people are going to tell you, but you, like, to give you an example, I had a client who came and he was already doing 100K months with ads. And he had a group of less than 100 people. And he was like, hey, can we do something with this? And I was like, yeah. So because he was already doing 100K with ads, because he wanted to see if he could do something with a Facebook group, he was willing to pay. At the time, my offer that he jumped into was $10,000. Hence how I know all the different offer price points and whatnot. So he jumped into that offer, paid in full right up front. It was cool. Within a few months, he had a group of less than 500 people and they weren't really doing much with the group. They were just nurturing people, putting in a CTA weekly, stuff like that, like little simple stuff. And in the month of February, which was about 3 months into it, in the month of February, their ads got shut down for the entire month, which is where they got all of their cash flow from.
Mm-hmm.
So they instantly moved all of their salespeople to only following up with people inside of the group. In that month of no ads and only following up with people inside of the group, they hit 178,000. So they continued on this upward trajectory of growth with less than 500 people inside of their group. There's a lot of people out there who think that you have to have a lot of friends to get sales. But for another example, I just had a client who came into my lower ticket offer recently. We're building out a new high ticket offer. And he went just with this one piece of content that I tell people about all the time called viral questions. It's really simple. You don't even have to think about it. I have this whole list of like thousands of viral questions that my clients get access to. They pick a viral question, they go post it in a group. So he did that. He went and posted it in a group and followed the really simple steps to just kick up conversations that I give. And this person came over to his profile, looked and checked him out to see what he was about. He was like, oh, you do websites, started a conversation, booked a call with him immediately. He's maybe added 10 or 20 friends at this point for his offer. You don't have to have a lot of people to be able to make sales. And when it comes to cash flow positive, that was kind of a loaded question, because I know people who were doing $1 million months, million collected, who were not cash flow positive, who spent everything that they made.
Mm-hmm.
And I know people who are doing 6-figure months who are incredibly cash flow positive, and their cost is like less than 20,000. So they're very like they're actually cash flowing a lot, like 80% profits. And so it's not like it's going to be whatever you determine it to be. And my number one piece of advice to become cash flow positive is whatever you build it as now while you're smaller, when your business is just starting out, is what it's going to be when it's bigger, because you're basically developing out the habits, the systems, the processes for your business as you scale. So if you're not cash flow positive now, you are definitely not going to be cash flow positive then, because you're building in those budgetary habits. Just like I said, however people think about their personal finances is how they are also going to think about their business finances, because it's just habits. It's mental habits, it's mental understanding, it's mental awareness around the financials.
Okay, intriguing. So if I understand correctly, as far as the number of followers or group members goes, it's not about quantity, it's about quality. If you have the right people and if you are able to communicate efficiently and build trust, then even in a small group, you can make a lot of money, if I understood correctly.
Yeah. And communicating efficiently and building trust doesn't have to be hard. People think that means you have to like learn how to be a copywriter and write these long form posts that people actually want to read. Nobody cares. All they care about. And I got this advice from a friend a couple of years back. He's like, I actually was feeling really guilty about something I had done in my life. And I was like, if people found out about this, I don't know if they'd want to follow me anymore. I don't know if they'd want to be my friend. And he said, can you get them the result? And I was like, well, yeah, absolutely. He's like, then they don't fucking care. Pardon my language. It's like
Yeah,
they don't care.
Mhm.
They don't care. People want the results. So they don't need a long form post. They don't need a book written. They don't need to see like 5 or 6 videos. They don't need all of that. They need to have trust that you do what you say you're going to do. 2, they need to have trust that your system actually works. 3, they need to have trust in themselves that they're going to follow through on whatever it is that they need to do to make sure it happens. Those are the only 3 trust you need. Once you have all of those 3 and you can get them the result that they actually want, they don't care. They don't care about all the other stuff. People make such a big deal over building out the perfect content, the perfect funnel, the perfect nurturing system. I have to send out a bajillion emails a day. I have to create a website. I didn't create a website until last year, at the end of last year. I crossed over 700,000 collected in my business without a website. Like $750,000 collected without a website. And my website never brought me any of my clients. I just created a website because I wanted to have gifts. You can't have like Giphy gifts. You can't have your own gifts with yourself on them unless you have a website. Stupid. Stupid. You can have a whole business without a website, but you can't have gifts. Stupid.
Okay. What I believe I found out from our conversation so far, because I used to be in finance and return on investment was the most important KPI. You said that it's possible that a business does not make any return on investment, and the best guys they make like 500% return on investment when you were talking about 100,000 and just spending 20,000. Would you care to speculate how much your average client is making? What's the return on investment?
I would say that the majority of my clients are taking and reinvesting heavily. And that's what's causing scale. And that's what most people do. Like if you're just wanting to hit the milestone of hitting $1 million months or 8-figure months or whatever, like one of my clients that I work with is an 8-figure company. I'm partnered with them on several things, and they're going for 9 figures. They're heavily reinvesting. They're not trying to be incredibly profitable right now. And you look back at like the company like Amazon. Amazon is not, they weren't profitable. They were actually losing money in the first several years of business so that they could become what they are now. But when it comes to profit margins, like people just think so linearly. It's like you think about like, oh, I made 20,000 and I only spent 10, so my profits are $10,000. And it's like, well, yeah, maybe, but what are you doing with the 10,000 afterwards? Is it just going to sit in a bank account somewhere? Or are you using that to reinvest back into the business? Or are you using that to invest in real estate like McDonald's? McDonald's is not a restaurant industry company. They're a real estate company. And the whole point of them buying all of the properties that they have is specifically for real estate. So they're heavily reinvesting anything that they make that's all reinvested. So they're not profitable. By the term of ROI or profits, they're not profitable. Like they're floating. And then they're leveraging other things. Like another thing that, because I have several friends who are in the financial industry too, like financial planners, who talk about like the life insurance stuff and how you can leverage life insurance. Like you can become your own benefactor. So rather than going and getting loans from the bank and having to pay them high interest rates, you can loan yourself money. And it's like when you get into that position, it's like, you're spending money you don't have maybe, but it's your money. And so like when it comes to profits and profitability, I think it's more about leverage than just about looking at your ROI. By the way, my clients' ROI on my front end program, my clients are ROIing, like they're getting not only what they invested with me, they're making that and more, usually a 2x to 10x ROI. In the first 30 days, I have 50% of people who 2x to 10x ROI. In the first 60 days, another 25%. So that 75% of people in the first 60 days are getting a return on their investment. Like they're actually making back what they invested. But how they spend it and what their overhead costs are, well, that's up to them. It's like, are you going to go for something that's really expensive like HubSpot? Or are you going to go for Go High Level and maybe get like a pretty free account or whatever with that? It's like, that's up to them. So what their costs are. And it's like, are you going to do all the work yourself? Or are you going to bring in somebody and like just farm it out and just take like a 10 or 20% cut off of the deal, which is what we used to do in the construction industry. We used to have a construction business when my husband and I first got married 20 years ago, almost 20 years ago. We had a construction business and we did general contracting. And so we would get the jobs, we would secure the jobs, and then we would have other people do the work. But we were the ones who did the estimates. We were the ones who gathered the clients. We were the ones who did all of that. And then we also were on the flip side of that too, where other people would farm jobs and then give us the work. And so we did both sides of the coin on that. And we were able to see it from that perspective. And so there's also that then you're not really necessarily looking at profitability. It's more like an investment where it's like you're the benefactor or whatever, and you're receiving a return based on the investment or whatnot, like we were talking about before. But again, it's all about giving you more leverage to do something with the money, because it's like, what do we consider profits? And this would be a great question for you. So maybe I'll turn this around on you, the financial person, right? So what would we consider profits? Is profits what we're making monthly, quarterly, yearly? Is profits what we actually hold at the end of the year? Because according to taxes, as long as you spend everything by the end of the year, you're not profitable. You don't have to pay taxes on that. It's pretty cool. Like you can go do a lot of investments and like avoid having, as long as you reinvest, you avoid having to pay those taxes. And it's not evading taxes. It's literally you chose to reinvest back in the economy. So you are rewarded for that. So it's like, is profits how much you hold on to over time? Is profits how much leverage you're able to spend in other investments? Is profits what sits in your bank? In savings? Like what would you consider to be that ROI or to be that profit? Like what are you actually looking for?
Yeah, for me, profit is just a paid out dividend. That is where I see the profit. All other is operating profit and other terms, but the real profit is paid out dividend. That is how I see it. But I'm extremely conservative as far as that is concerned. What I would like to ask you is it getting harder to make venture into Facebook profitable? Because it used to be really simple. You just had a post and ads and stuff like that. And now we know that the profitability, or it's, let's say, public knowledge, profitability of ads is dropping. There is more and more people advertising. The prices go up. Where do you see?
Inflation happens everywhere. Inflation happens everywhere. So what I'm saying in the last 4 years, that like $10,000, like, whoo, that's a big offer for somebody just getting started who's never done a high ticket offer before. They're going to have to go sell this 10K offer or whatever. I can say that now, like, whoo, like that's so much money. 10 years from now, $10,000 is probably going to be nothing. It's probably going to be the price of rent because of inflation happens. So it's like if ads go up in price, that makes sense.
Yeah,
like,
but
did you not
if
see
the
the price
return
of
on
milk
investment
and eggs
drops,
and
that
gas?
is
What's that?
if the return on investment drops, that is a problem.
It means they need to raise their prices. Like
yeah,
if the prices of ads go up, why is your price for your offer not going up? Like it's just data, it's just numbers, it's just a math problem. It's like, okay, charge more or charge less and get higher volume. Like whatever you need to do. So it's like I don't even do ads for my own business. I tried ads one time. It was like a royal time suck. Like it just took up so much time and effort and energy, and it was a waste of my money. It was a $10,000 lesson for me. And so we're about to start ads again for the first time in 4.5 years, but I haven't needed ads. And people don't need ads to get to 10 to 30K months. They don't need Facebook groups to get to 10 to 30K months. Like just kicking up conversations with people, all you have to do is become really good at starting a conversation with somebody about your offer. That's it. And that's not hard. It doesn't have to be hard. So going into Facebook, like if you wanted to go into the Facebook ads world and that's what you're starting out with, like you're going to have overhead costs, but that's any business. And the market is going to shift and change, and that's fine. Maybe Facebook won't be the big dog in the future. That's okay, as long as you understand the principles and the philosophies that work. Because networking works, period. You could go to events in person and networking is going to work. You could go to LinkedIn and networking is going to work. You could go to Instagram and networking is going to work. You could go to Facebook and networking is going to work. That is a principle that you learn And if you develop that skill and get really good at it, you're going to continue to thrive no matter if Facebook suddenly becomes like MySpace and just shuts down and becomes like a music site only. Whatever happens in the future, whatever transitions, like as long as you learn the skills that matter. And that's essentially what I'm teaching people how to do, is just how to network online and build trust really, really quick with simple processes, just like you would do in person. But most people can't translate that into content. They can't translate that into conversations and in Messenger. They get really weird about it. They're like, I'm going to be spammy and salesy. And it's like, not if you know how to have a normal conversation. And so we mark out and we outline a very simple process and walk people through it. And it doesn't matter. You can take those same principles and go to any social media platform or even use them in person and they will work.
Okay, so if I understand correctly, it's all about building network and building trust within this network. And one of really important skills that our listeners should learn is how to open conversation and not be creepy about it, and not be feeling bad because you're spamming someone because you ask this person about something.
Sure. We can minimize it to that.
Yeah.
There's nuance to it, because a lot of people go into DMs. Like one of the biggest issues that I see people talk about all the time, they blast it all over their social media profile. It's all over Facebook, is like cold DMs and how much they hate them. And so it's like, don't do that. But there's ways that you can get people starting conversations with you by going into groups, which you will not get on any other platform. You can't go do this on other platforms. The only way you could do that is to drop a really great comment on somebody's post. Drop a really great comment on somebody's post and you could kick up conversations there. And I've done that inside of groups too, and it works inside of groups too. But when it comes to going posting inside of these groups, like you can do a post and then you can have like 100 to 300 comments in one day. And all of those people are coming to you and starting the conversation with you. It's like you put something out there and then they started the conversation with you. And because they started that casual conversation with you, they're more open to talk about other things. As long as you don't go cold DM them immediately and say, hey, here's my offer. Do you want it? It's like, nope.
So first, build trust with a comment. And if they reply to your comment, then you have established some kind of relationship. And then you can propose to meet in DMs. Is that the way?
Kind of. But yeah, I mean, it essentially, like if they come and comment on your post, they're already warmed up to you. They're already willing to talk to you. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, whereas if you go comment on their post, you're talking to them. So who's the leader in that conversation? It's them. But if you post something and they come and comment on your post, well, you're the leader in that conversation, especially if you get 100 to 300 comments. Now they're like, who is this guy? Like, who is this person that just posted this?
Okay, thank you. So you already disclosed viral questions as one of your trick of the trade. Are there any other tricks of the trade that you can disclose right now to our listeners?
So viral questions, by the way, if anyone wants like just templates of them that they can just take and use, I have an entire template list that I give out. So it's like you can just go grab those so that you can go test it, because it works 100% of the time. So I would say the other thing is like when you introduce a Facebook group, when you're at the 10 to 30K months, I would say that inside of Facebook groups, the whole point of a Facebook group is just to nurture people. And so a lot of times people will build it because they're like, this is going to be my number one sales tool. I'm going to do all of my promotion here and I'm going to promote all the time. And so they'll build out this Facebook group, they'll do constant promotion, and then they'll have a really low engagement rate inside of the group where people, like if you look at Facebook metrics, it'll say that people are engaged, but they're not commenting, they're not liking the post, they're not engaging with any other people, they're definitely not posting inside of the group. Like those are the kind of things, those are the activities that we really want to see people do, is we actually want to see them post inside of the group. We want to see them commenting on other people's posts, including your own. Because inside of a group, you can actually get people buzzing and talking about your offer and talking about your ideas, and you don't even have to initiate the conversation. That's the beauty of groups. and they'll do it in your domain, in your area, something that you kind of have a little bit of ownership over, where you're the leader there. And if people meet in the group and they become really good friends, they're always going to remember that you're the one who introduced them. So now you stay top of mind for them. Every time they think of their friend, they think of you. Every time they have that conversation in the group, they're thinking of you. So now you're staying top of mind because of the group. So having a group is great for nurturing and for pushing people over the edge. So even with my client who has 26,000 followers on Facebook, the majority of his sales, like 80% of his sales, come from people inside of his Facebook group. And we've actually, in the last month, we've grown his Instagram by like 2,500 people. So even though we grew his Instagram by 2,500 people, so he's got 2,500 new followers on Instagram, we're still taking people to the group. And because we put out regular CTAs, like we do a lot of testing. So we do like soft sell CTAs, which are like lead magnets. We do direct offer CTAs, which is just like, hey, I have this offer. Do you want it? And then we do like push to the group CTAs. So we do all of these different CTAs. We test them. And lead magnet CTAs, they get a lot of engagement, but very low conversion on the front end. Like it takes time to nurture those people. Then we have the direct offer CTA. It gets a lot of engagement. It actually gets a lot of calls, but the closing percentage off of those is 20%. 20% closing rate, which is not great for my client. My client, if we have people inside of the group, the people who come inside of his group, they watch one of his videos, 60% closing rate from the group. So he's a 60% closing rate. And we also increased his prices this year. So we increased his prices, restructured his offer, like how he's pitching his offer. And he had a 20% closing rate when he increased his prices on his own. So we actually increased the price even more, restructured the offer, and now he has a 60% closing rate again. And that's from his group. So people who come into his group, 60% closing rate. People who are not in his group, 20% closing rate, just to give you an idea. So having a group is really good to nurture people.
Thank you. Before we close, where can our listeners and viewers find you?
I'm on Facebook, obviously, but so my website is cierralueck.com. That's CIERRA. Last name is LUECK. So cierralueck.com. You can go there. You can find me on any of the social media platforms. I hang out on Facebook the most because it's where all my people are at. And it's also, Facebook is the number one platform because of how many users there are on it and just how easy it is to get into conversations with really high level people. So 2.9 billion monthly active users, 2.9 billion with a B. The next closest are Instagram and YouTube with 1.9 billion, and then TikTok trails in behind them at 1.8 billion. But Facebook has an entire 1 billion more people on the platform. So the opportunity on Facebook is just immense. It's endless. And no other platform has Facebook groups. So you won't have a nurturing tool like that. Again, if you look at the conversion rates on having a group versus not having a community drastically increases conversion rates.
Thank you, Cierra. Thank you for all your insights. And thank you for being my guest tonight.
Absolutely. It was great to talk with you, Peter.
Thank you, Mr. Faleskini, for this outstanding podcast. And thank you for listening to the Ask Faleskini podcast until the end. Mr. Faleskini would love to hear your feedback in the comments. And don't forget, if you want to know, ask Faleskini or listen to the Ask Faleskini podcast. In order to please the almighty algorithm, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.